Malisandra, the keeper of secrets, writhed in delight atop the corrupted altar within the Grail chapel she had called home for these last few months. Deep in communion with Slaanesh, Malisandra learned of the failings of the other forces of chaos besetting the mortal world. Even the so-called Lord of the End Times was being held back by the Empire's magical defenses and was proving no more than an impotent little warlord. Of all the incursions, only hers had proven so successful. The land of Bretonnia belonged to chaos, and it was now that her forces were the strongest. So complete was her domination of the Grey Mountains that even the warriors of Tzeentch have come before her and pledged themselves to her service. But there was more required of her. Slaanesh demanded that her power be pushed to even greater excess. There would certainly be challenges to her claims over Bretonnia, and the Dark Prince demanded that she face those challenges with the full might of the children of chaos under her command. While Malisandra controlled both warriors and daemons, there was one who stood against her plans to be the ultimate lord of the forces of chaos in these mountains. Morgor, the Great Bray Shaman of the Beastmen herds. For Malisandra to rule, Morgor's will must be broken, or failing that, he would be destroyed. And so Malisandra set out with her legions behind her, for the end times had come, and she would be their herald. But the movements of the forces of Slaanesh did not catch Morgor by surprise. He had communed with the great monolith, and by its wisdom was he made aware of the Keeper's movements. Knowing that she came for him, Morgor decided it was time to make use of the powers he had gained from the monolith. He brought forth his brother, Morgor, and had him chained to the great herdstone of their tribe, and he called upon the powers of the wild that flowed through every child of chaos. The magics answered Morgor's call with a potency that he had never before experienced. As the magic enhanced Morgor, the pain screams of the Beastman was drowned out by the sound of his flesh tearing and his bones reshaping themselves. In moments the form of Morgor was gone, and in its place stood a mighty Doom Bull, the likes of which the Beastmen had only heard of within their legends. With a simple flex of his muscles, the chains around Morgor shattered, and he moved to Morgor, each step seeming to shake the very ground. Morgor was pleased, and saw his brother's new form as a sign that the Chaos Gods were with him. "Morgor, the servants of Slaanesh come to claim my life." The eyes of the Doom Bull narrowed. "I lead army," he growled. "They will die." Alright, so here is our battlefield. Everything's pretty normal with the exception of the two lakes in the middle. They end up both being rivers of light. So the idea is this is a dried out riverbed that they're fighting over with only two sizable bits of water still in it. But yeah, the waters of light have often plagued our Beastman player, and he's very nervous whenever water shows up on the board. But other than that, there's a lot of open areas, and we've got definitely plenty of chance to go in and mix it up. So we'll go ahead and get on to deployment. Alright, and Beastman deployment starts off with his left flank being almost solely anchored by Zola, the mighty Gorgon of the Beastman herd. Then in the back we have a 40-man Gore herd. In front of that is a 5-man Chaos Warhound unit with poison and scaly skin. Then we have his main unit. It's 3 Minotaurs with full command and additional hand weapons, and a character wall in front of it, including Morgor the Doom Bull with the Talisman of Preservation, the Axe of Korgor, gnarled hide, and heavy armor, a Gore Bull, who is his BSB with the Armor of Destiny and additional hand weapon, and another Gore Bull with Troll Hide and an additional hand weapon, so very scary. Next to that is a unit of Bestigors, 19 strong, with Morgor, the Great Bray Shaman, who is his level 4 to Wild Magic, with the Hag Tree Fetish, Dispel Scroll, and Gambler's Armor. And then here is showing everything he's keeping in reserves. He has a 10-man Gore Herd with shields and full command. He also has 2 units of 10 Ungor Raiders with a champion musician, and that's what the elf models are standing in for there. So he's got a lot coming in, ambushing. And those Ungors have done very, very well for him in the past, so I'm very nervous about them. But unfortunately, I didn't think about them until after I'd already deployed. And the Legion of Chaos deployment starts off with 3 Screamers of Tzeentch. And then I have 3 Nurglings that I put down here as scouts, facing the back corner in case that's where his Ungors ended up coming on. I wanted a way to deal with them, but I realized at this point that I really deployed badly considering how worried I was about them. Okay, and here I have a Soul Grinder, Mark of Slaanesh. In the center I have 3 Flamers of Tzeentch, and behind them I have 15 Chaos Warriors of Khorne with full command and additional hand weapons. Next to that I have a unit of 20 Daemonettes of Slaanesh with full command. They have a Herald of Slaanesh in there as well, who is my battle standard bearer, and her greater gift ended up being the Lash of Despair. Behind that I have Malisandra, my Keeper of Secrets, level 4 to Slaanesh, and her greater gift, I decided to take the Eternal Blade, because since I'm playing Legions of Chaos, I really don't care about the bad results on the Reign of Chaos table, because we are playing that Slaanesh is Ascendant here. So anything that's doubles, including double ones, I'm just going to be spitting out units of Daemonettes instead. So pretty happy about that. And then up front I have a unit of 5 Marauder Horsemen Mark Slaanesh with just a musician. And they're armed with javelins. And then anchoring my right flank I have a Hell Cannon and 3 Dragon Ogres. And they have halberds on them for extra strength. So, my opponent gets first turn, and he decides to start things off with a long bomb charge by his Chaos Hounds into my Marauder Horsemen. I figure he needs a 10 on the charge, so I'm just going to hit it and stand and shoot, and kill one of them off with the stand and shoot reaction. However, he does surprise me, comes slamming through them, and drags just barely across the water, which is when we find out that it's a lake of light, and it gives him Briona's time warp on his freaking dogs. Oh, poor Marauder Horsemen are not going to catch a break at this point, are they? And then pretty much everything else here, he's coming on aggressively. He knows with that Minotaur, with the wall of characters, there's very little I have to handle him. My only benefit here that I'm thinking is I need to get some Slaanesh units into them because they're unbreakable, and ideally just hold him up all game. So that's really my only plan there, and then I can pick off the rest of the points as long as those Minotaurs aren't murdering me. And here you see he is bringing the Gorgon in because I think he was looking for some Gorgon on Soul Grinder monster action. To be honest, I think I'm more inclined to throw the Gorgon into the Minotaurs because with Toughness 7 he's still rolling like 5s and 6s with his characters to wound me. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for. I'm not really sure how I'm going to deal with the Gorgon, in all honesty, at this point. And then, to make matters worse, he succeeds in popping his one group of Ungors on the side of his choice. So he chooses right behind Malisandra, hoping to get a couple of free wounds on her. He then gets his 10-man Gore unit with the shields on this side, hoping to be able to engage my Screamers and tie them up so I can't send them into Morgor and take advantage, or not Morgor, the Gorgon, and take advantage of their D3 wounds against large targets. So I'm not super worried about here. As flying skirmishers, I'm way more maneuverable than him. He's going to be very unlikely to be able to pin me down. However, during his magic, I don't think did anything. I think I stopped him. But during shooting, the freaking Ungors put a wound on my Keeper of Secrets. I don't know what it is about him and Ungors, but yeah, this is going to be a big problem for me, I think. So we go into combat here, and with their poison attacks and always strikes first, The dogs managed to kill 3 of the 5 marauders, and then I managed to kill 1 back. So I'm needing a 6 rerollable, I think is what I ended up getting it. But the plus side is my BSB's right there, and I managed to stick. So then we go into my turn. I basically move everything up. I want to get my dragon ogres into his Bestigor unit, tie them up a little bit. And I just want to kind of come forward. I bring the flamers back, essentially skirting them around the side, and stand them there, hopefully to shoot the Ungors. And then I move my Keeper of Secrets the hell away from those freaking Ungors, because I'm really not wanting her to die from freaking 5-point models. Then over here, I fly my Screamers over to do their wound things on these guys and do absolutely nothing. I'm just rolling like absolute garbage, so they're kind of conga lined here so they can run over and do it again next turn. So we'll see how that works. And then I turn my Nurglings around to come and hopefully box these guys in. And if I can get the charge next turn, I'll probably finish them off, as I'm not thinking the Ungors are going to be able to handle a flank charge from even Nurglings. So that's the one plus side I've got of this whole situation, which is really, really sad to say. But on the plus side, during my magic phase, I do net doubles, so I crap out a unit of 6 Daemonettes in front of the Minotaurs, kind of to redirect them off to the side. The nice benefit about this is with Slaanesh Ascendant, yeah, it's only 6 models, but there's 6 unbreakable models. So I know the Minotaurs and those characters are likely to kill them, but it is kind of nice just to be able to shit out unbreakable chaff units whenever I roll the doubles during magic. So during magic, I get a couple spells off, but they don't accomplish anything because during shooting I missed with the Hell Cannon, so I didn't provoke any of the panic tests I was trying to. So we go into combat, and the 3 dogs, who still have Always Strikes First, end up killing 1 of the Marauders, so only the champion is left there, and I hold. So it's just really embarrassing being torn apart by dogs. So we go into Beastman turn 2, and he succeeds a kind of a long charge with the Gorgon into the warriors here. He has a wound on the Gorgon, and I don't remember what from. Oh, I hit the Gorgon last turn with the fire projector from the Soul Grinder, so he does have 1 wound on him, and he's going into a big unit of warriors, and I'm actually thinking the warriors are alright there. He, of course, charges his Minotaurs into the front of that unbreakable unit. They're going to get killed. What my hope is he'll kill, then overrun, and I may have enough room to squeeze the Daemonettes in there and hit him in the flank. If I do, then I can hold him, because in the flank, he's, even with the crazy number of attacks that the Minotaurs and the Doombull gets, it's going to take him a while to chew through 20 Daemonettes. And then, of course, over here, he gets, on turn 2, gets the 2nd unit of Ungor in with a beautiful shot at Malisandra's back there as well. The only thing I'm thinking at this point is, God, if she dies to Ungors, I am never going to live this down, ever. So I'm just hoping I can do something with her to get her the heck out of Dodge. And I gotta admit, my opponent is doing good putting the pressure on me and really kind of making me panic at this point. Over here, he ends up moving the big Gore unit forward. We find out that that forest is a poison forest, and he loses a couple of Gore for moving into the poison forest. But with the unit that big, it's pretty immaterial however many he does end up losing. It might have been 1 or 2. And then over here, he decides to forget about the Screamers and is working this unit closer to kind of get into my backfield and maybe hit something of significance. He may be looking to tie up the Soul Grinder at this point. I'm not entirely sure what his aims are, but he has to move up here before he even has a legit charge to make next turn. Then over here, he starts to move into the water with his Bestigor unit and ends up getting the net of Amontok off on him. I think I actually had random movement on him this turn, so that's why he didn't move much. So he moved up an inch. hit it and got Net of Ammon talked and has to stop. So I'm okay with that. I'm hoping that I'll charge my ogres in here or the dragon ogres and get a good result from the pond. So his magic phase again, not great, but then shooting these freaking Ungors put another wound on the Keeper of Secrets. So she's not quite half dead, and it's all been from freaking Ungor shooting. Absolutely driving me nuts. Then we go into combat here, and the dogs kill my last Slaanesh Marauder, but not before he kills one of them. So there's two dogs left, which is good because if his overrun goes as is planned with the Minotaurs, that is just enough room for me to fit those Daemonettes in there. And I'm actually hoping to charge the dogs with the Keeper just so I can get her away from the freaking Ungors and do some damage there. And of course, he easily kills the Demonettes and overruns a full 6 inches, so this is absolutely perfect, exactly where I wanted to land him, because not only do I have my flank now, but I can get into his front with the Soul Grinder and tie up those characters so he can't make way. So that's my plan at this point. Then with the combat with Zola, I put only 2 wounds on him because I flubbed like crazy. He takes out 4 of my Chaos Warriors, and I lose this fight, and it's at this point I look down at my list and realize that I forgot to give them the Banner of Rage, which I almost always do. So they're not even frenzied at this point. I lose the combat, but I am stubborn and stick. So we go into my turn 2, and I know it looks like I've charged the Screamers here, but I haven't. I moved them up and then slid them back so that I could get the wounds on these guys, and again, absolutely flub on it. So, totally wasted freaking use of these things. They're not doing shit for me. And it's really just the level of fail in my army right now is really starting to frustrate me. But I do try and make up with that by crazy charges. I slam the ogres into the bestigors and get it, and end up getting the Light of Battle on them. I slam Malisandra into the 2 dogs, which is going to be an easy kill. Then I figure I'll overrun, probably end up in that nice open area, which is Kako perfect, and it'll get me out of the way in case the Beastigors come. And then I managed to get both the Daemonettes and the Soul Grinder into his Minotaur unit, so I'm feeling okay about that. I also, as you can see here, I slam the Nurglings into the side of the 1 unit of Ungors, and I move the Flamers around the front of the Hell Cannon to come get the other group, even though they haven't shot for crap yet so far in this game, so I really don't know what I'm expecting them to do for me. But at least I've got some sort of plans to try and deal with these freaking Ungor before they shoot me to death. So magic is basically worthless. He stops me. Shooting the Flamers decide that they want to show up for work today and just blow this unit out of the water. They do a bunch of damage. It's Warp Flame, and he fails the toughness test, and the unit just gets absolutely obliterated where it stands. I then get a little bit of a shot off with the Hell Cannon. It hits, drifts a little bit. I think it inflicts 2 wounds, but the Gore unit is not panicking, so not really helpful there. And here Malisandra, empowered with the might of the Eternal Blade at its maximum, absolutely destroys 2 dogs. So, totally wasted use of ability there. And with the blood of the Chaos Hound still fresh upon her blade, Malisandra cried out an exulted scream of victory and charged forward. However, she was led astray. Her desire for victory overwhelmed her good sense, and she ran forward, dragging her slaves in the mud behind her, and slammed into the Beastmen lines. She could know nothing but victory, and that desire, that all-encompassing passion for the blood of her foes, led her astray, for she was outnumbered and far away from any who would aid her. It is only the strength of the Keeper that holds any hope for her now, for the Beastmen were numerous, and they hungered for her blood as much as she hungered for theirs. And then here we go into the combat with the warriors, I did get, during my magic phase, I got the frenzy spell from Slanesh off on the warriors, so they have frenzy again. And I do manage to do the enough to kill the Gorgon before he gets to strike. I did lose one warrior at the end of my turn from the strength 3 hits they take from that spell, so that kind of sucked. But he didn't just like jump over that other unit, he is dead. And then over here, the Minotaurs, looks like we kill one Minotaur, and I may have put a wound or two on his BSB at this point because I'm like grabbing him, and the Soul Grinder ended up going through the other lake, which we determined was a lake of light again, and he has Briona's Time Warp on him this time, so I lose, but I'm unbreakable, and I'm not all that worried. And over here, the Nurglings end up putting a hurt on the Ungors. I kill 5 of them, they break, but they end up escaping and running to where you see them here. Then over here, I do like 2 wounds to Beastmen, and he does 6 back to me. I end up sticking because I rolled really well for leadership. And after this combat is over, I realized that his freaking Great Bray Shaman is right there in front. I could have directed 2 ogres worth of attacks at him, and I didn't. So I'm feeling really stupid now. So we go to Beastman turn 3, and starts off with the Ungors in the backfield failing their rally test, and they run a little further. Nice thing about this now is I can charge them on my turn with the Flamers, and the corner to corner's almost certainly going to send them off the board. So nothing else really happens, so we go straight into combat, and he starts here with the combat with my Keeper. He does almost nothing. My Keeper, with 9 attacks, flubs 8 of them and inflicts a single wound. And he ends up winning combat through static combat res. And so I am unbreakable, so I'm not going anywhere, which is really the only plus side of this, but he ends up succeeding, or because he won, ends up getting the automatic reform, and now Malisandra's in a crap ton of trouble. I've been fluffing really bad with her, and if I do that, he's just got a lot of static combat res, and just a lot of attacks, and he's just going to sneak. He's not going to lose combats, and he's just going to sneak wounds through, so I've got to get some spells off or something. I'm really nervous right now. And then we go into the combat over here. He does manage to destroy my Chaos Ogres, but not before the the Dragon Ogres, but not before the Dragon Ogre ends up killing Morgor, the Great Bray Shaman. So they stomped him into the mud and drowned him in the Lake of Light, and that's what his stupid ass deserves for everything they're putting me through during this battle. Then over here, the characters go just crazy again. My Soul Grinder puts another wound on his BSB, so his BSB only has 1 wound left. But as you can see, his Doom Bull and other Minotaur are just eating that unit. I'm refusing challenges with my BSB, so it's hanging out in the back. And my only hope here is, like, I'm right at the corner, so this Chaos Warrior unit can charge in, but I don't know how much good that'll do. So, as I said, my turn 3, I do that. I'm hoping for some static combat res, balance out the fact that I'm just losing. And if I can kill a few more of these guys, I just need to wear them down, tie them up. But I'm thinking putting here something in this fight that's not unbreakable is probably a bad idea. But by the time I had determined that, it was already done and I wasn't going to go back. So I charge over here, the Ungors end up running off the table, and so do my Flamers, so they'll come back on next turn. And over here, last turn he tried a long bomb charge with these guys into the back of the Soul Grinder. I decided that I wasn't going to give him that opportunity again, and decided to charge the back of them to hold them up and maybe finish them off. That's not another unit of Daemonettes, that's just my dead pile. I'm running out of room on the side table I have to put them out. He's killing so many of them. So during Magic, I get a Kako off that hits everybody but doesn't do a whole heck of a lot, just a few wounds here and there. And my shooting, the freaking hell cannon, fails me again. So we go into combat, and I start off with my screamers. And the screamers do amazing. They kill almost all of those gores, and then run them down and land in the Lake of Light. And I roll up a banishment, and they get banished and blows the whole unit off the table. So, awesome. I was defeated by water. Over here, the gores, I kill just a buttload of them, but they put 2 more wounds on Malisandra. So Malisandra's sitting there, 1 wound remaining, facing, 15 ungores by her, or 15 gores by herself. And I don't know how I'm going to free myself up to be able to bring any support to her. And I'm sorry this is showing a couple things because I actually forgot to take a picture of the end of the center combat. I kill 1 more Minotaur, but he ends up doing so many wounds, I still lose. The warriors break, lose their banner, and run off to where you see them here. This also shows the first charge of Beastmen turn 4, and the Bestigor slam into the back of Malisandra, so she is just absolutely screwed at this point. He's got nothing else going on, so we go straight into combat. Malisandra tries to turn around and do enough damage to the Bestigors where they're not going to kill her. She only kills 4 of them, and they butcher her, so Malisandra has fallen. Both of the leaders of this battle are gone, and as far narratively, this battle is so far off the rails of what we were expecting. We're all sitting here watching this happen with just the look of watching a freaking car wreck on our faces. So in here, another Minotaur dies. I finally kill his BSB with the Soul Grinder, and he takes out like half of the remaining Daemonettes, including my BSB during a challenge. So we're both without BSBs. He's got his general left because his general is actually Morgor, the Doom Bull, and I'm without my general. So it is just bloody. I mean, we were in combat from turn 1. So this just shows his reforms. He's got, I think it's 10 or more gores left and 8 or 9 Bestigors left, and I'm just running out of stuff here in the middle of the board, and it's not happy. But then my Hell Cannon reminds me that it's a monster as it fails its restrain check and rolls 17 inches to slam into the flank of the Bestigors. As it goes, it gets Briona's Time Warp, which seems to be a favorite out of this lake, and slams into the side of the Bestigor. So I'm actually pretty happy with that. Maybe I can score some extra points, and oddly enough, it will probably do better in combat than it has in shooting. So with nothing else going on, because I'm out of Magic 2, we go straight into combat, and the Hell Cannon beats and breaks the Bestigors. 2 of them survive, and they run off. I don't catch them. I was really kind of hoping I would continue over and slam into those gores, but it just wasn't going to happen. But the Bestigors are running the hell off the table, off in that direction. Then in combat here, he decides to focus more of his attacks on the Soul Grinder, ends up putting 2 more wounds on it, I believe, but I end up doing, between enough wounds and the flanks and whatnot, I actually win this combat, which he doesn't break or anything, but it is good because it removes his frenzy. He's got to win another combat before he's going to get all those attacks back again, and that's freaking amazing for me. Then during his turn, he shows me that my Hell Cannon did not overrun far enough to stop him from getting his gores into there, so he's got more static combat res and is probably going to do a few more wounds to the Daemonettes, which, I mean, he's got to do because those are still unbreakable with Slaanesh being Ascendant. He also, if you look at the top, he failed to rally because he needs double 1s on his Bestigors, and they're almost off the table. I guess this is just a better picture of that. Yeah, they're almost off the table up there. So hopefully I can get them and just get some extra points. But then during combat here, his Doom Bull finally manages to put the last few wounds on the Soul Grinder. It dies. I kill 3 of the gores out of that unit, but it's not enough. it's going to be a bad day for those remaining Daemonettes. Now, the other thing that I realize I'm doing here, or rather not doing, is when Malisandra died, I stopped rolling for magic. So it's entirely possible I could have had more disposable units and just didn't. So as you can see, he reformed everyone to face the Daemonettes. I turn around my warriors, because they rally this turn to face the flank of the Minotaurs. I'm figuring that's just the normal Gorbel, or whatever it's called, the normal Minotaur leader guy. And if I can slam him into the side, I might be able to get more points, because they are just characters at this point. I've already gotten the points for the Minotaur unit, so maybe that'll be a plus. So we go into combat. Oh, and also you can see the Hell Cannon moved. I was just within charge range to charge the Bestigors off the table, so I did that. Because they had Briona's Time Warp up still, which gave them double movement. So combat here goes, and there is one Daemonette left at the end of combat on my turn. So it's going to die, and that's going to free up everything on his turn, which is not a good thing. So that's exactly what happens. He kills the... well, actually, because he was disconnected, the Gors move up on his turn to essentially block off my Nurglings. The Minotaurs turn and face the... After they kill the Daemonette, they reform to face the Warriors. And there's no reason for me to charge those Warriors in there now, because they're just going to die and give him even more points. So this is the last picture of the battle, as it was turn 6. Really all I had to do, I turned around the cannon, hoping that maybe I could get a shot, and it turns out they were too close. They were within the 12 inches, so I didn't even get a final shot with them. The Flamers tried to shoot at the Gore, and absolutely failed, didn't do enough damage. So this is all what we're looking at. 2 units left of the Minotaurs, 4 units left of mine, and it was a bloody one. As Morgor cleaved open the Soul Grinder, the battlefield went silent. Against the mighty rage of the immense creature, even the power of Slaanesh seemed to wither and fade away. The few remaining warriors in service to Malisandra began to slowly back away from the beast. Unfortunately for them, Morgor looked around and saw the body of his beloved brother floating face down in the enchanted waters of the nearly dried-out river. With a roar that defied the gods themselves, Morgor launched himself at the remaining humans, who had no chance to escape. As Morgor tore apart his enemies, he felt a burst of power shoot through his body. Just like during the ritual which changed him into a Doom Bull, his body began to reshape itself into a new, more powerful form. However, this change was different, and also brought with it a burst of intelligence, enough for Morgor to understand what was happening to him. As his skin darkened to a deep blue, and the sign of Tzeentch formed on his body, Morgor knew that he had been chosen to become a Daemon Prince of the Changer of Ways. Morgor's howl of triumph was swiftly joined by the remainder of his tribe. However, the cacophony was brought to a halt by the arrival of a human floating upon a disk of Tzeentch. "Greetings, great Morgor," the human called, "and congratulations on your mighty victory." "Who are you, human? And what do you want?" the newly anointed Demon Prince snarled. "I am Daedalus Twice Chosen, servant of the Great Deceiver, and he has sent me to speak with you on his behalf." "What need do I have for you?" Morgor replied arrogantly. "I bring you an army, Great One, gathered and prepared to march at your command for the glory of Tzeentch." "I don't need your army. My tribe is the slayer of Malisandra. We need nothing else." The human's eyes narrowed. "Your Beastmen may have struck the final blow, Morgul, but who do you think made this battle possible? There is only one that could have manipulated these events to bring you the power you needed, and lure the Keeper to this point of her greatest weakness against you." Morgul thought for a moment, and his newfound intelligence allowed him to make connections that he hadn't before. Obviously, the Keeper had been pushed to greater and greater arrogance, which led to her to meet his forces in open combat. And it could only have been the Changer of Ways who granted his brother the magic to make him into a Doom Bull in the first place. "Very well, human. I will take command of this army, and march against the horsemen. Daedalus smiled. You must prepare yourself for greater trials, Morgor. Our Lord has Bretonnia well in hand. As these words were spoken, miles away, King Alphonius of Bretonnia awoke to a horrible realization. In his dreams he heard the screams of the lady, and as he awoke in a cold sweat, he felt her absence for the first time in his life. The deep emptiness in his soul was confirmed as he looked into his dressing mirror. The lady-given youthfulness was draining from him, and his hair turned white before his very eyes. He looked around his chamber and noticed that his mistress, Anya Snowmane, had awoken and sat up looking at him quizzically. "Anya," the king gasped, "something terrible has happened to the lady." "Do not worry, my king," Anya said as she stood and walked towards him. "Your lady is far beyond your cause for concern now." What do you mean?" Alphonius said, feeling a cold shiver run down his back. "The lady you served is gone, defeated and banished from this realm. And now, you are alone." Alphonius could not bear to hear the blasphemies that his mistress spoke, and stood tall and commanding. "How dare you?" he shouted. "Why do you speak such lies?" "Lies?" Anya replied with a smirk. "Sweet Alphonius, these words are the only truth I have ever spoken to you. I thought it would be nice for you to have them be the last thing you ever hear." With that, the form of Anya shimmered and was replaced by a demonic, multi-armed form, cloaked in blue robes. Before Alphonius could act, the changeling rushed towards him and drove a dagger deep within his chest. As he fell to the floor, Alphonius was shocked to see his own form standing above him. "Don't worry for Bretonnia, my king," the demon said sarcastically. "I shall have everything well in hand. In fact, after the atrocities that you allowed while serving the Keeper of Secrets, the people will welcome the change in leadership." And so Alphonius died, and passed from this world to the sounds of the demon's mocking laughter in his own voice. Shortly thereafter, the changeling, as King Alphonius, proclaimed Anya Snowmane a witch, and claimed that she used her powers on him and forced him to allow the horrible activities that had taken place in Bretonnia in the recent months. As order was restored, the people of Bretonnia were thrilled at this change, and showered the king with love and devotion. Those knights whose loyalty was flagging reaffirmed their devotion to the king and swelled the armies of Bretonnia. The evils of Tzeentch were far more subtle than those of Slaanesh, and so the men of Bretonnia served willingly, never knowing they gave their strength to the changer of ways by their service. And so the revolution led by Lord Cartasia now faced not only the powers of the new demon prince Morgor, but the might of a fully loyal Bretonnian army as well. And in these dark times, both hope and allies were in short supply. And so, in a surprising turn of events, the Beastmen won to the tune of about 200 points. Very close battle, very fun battle. Was definitely not what we expected. I thought I would definitely have the edge with Slaanesh being Ascendant, but by God, does a wall of Minotaur characters really give some punch to the Beastmen that I had not experienced from them before. I definitely think there was some issues with the way I built the list. I was corrupted by my desire to play with my new toys, and I put too many of them in. I needed more troops, I needed more options, and the options that I brought just weren't bringing it to the table for me. So all in all, it was not the best list I could have brought, but it definitely plays into the whole story of Malisandra being arrogant and not taking the Beastmen as a true threat, and so it works out. It was definitely a surprise. Both of us kind of went into this idea thinking that the Beastmen were going to get raffle stomped, and that was kind of where we expected the scenario and the story to go. And with Malisandra now banished from the world, The forces of chaos are in Morgor's hand, and it's going to be very interesting to see where it goes and what this means to our ultimate climax. So, we were super excited about this, though. There's nothing better than a narrative campaign that just goes totally off the rails and turns into something you weren't expecting, because now it's as exciting for us as it is for the viewers, because none of us know what's going on from this point. And like I said, the characters that are dead are dead. Morgor is gone. Malisandra is banished, so she can't return. It's the time in the story where things are going to start happening and folks are going to get narrowed down. So hope you guys are enjoying it. Just keep in mind that with this definitely proves no one is safe. So we're not sure what's going on any more than you guys are, really. So it's going to be a lot of fun in to ride the narrative through the next few times. The end of it, I'm not sure how many battles are going to be in this wrap up, but it's definitely good and a lot of fun. So I hope you guys are enjoying it. If you did like it, please like the video, comment below. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them there. I'll try my best to answer them. And if this is the first video you saw, you are probably very, very confused. But feel free to subscribe to the channel anyway. We love seeing new folks around. And on top of that, the other thing I just wanted to ask, I did put in sort of a test thing of sort of the mid battle report narrative bit. If you guys like that, that was kind of an improv thing for me while I was sitting here and doing it. I had been talking about doing it for a while. Let me know if you liked it, if you think I should not improv it and write it, polish it up a little bit before, or if it's just distracting. I'd definitely like some feedback on that. So thank you guys for watching, and we will catch you next time.